Good evenings, Cape Flat Stories. Hope you guys are good. Ek was lanklaas op die platform gewees, StreamYard. So the reason for me being here, first of all, I want to do a bit of chats with people all over, not only certain parties, but all over. Just chat with people, and having some of you guys on as well. So the software is here. I want you guys, if you guys want to chat with me in the week, I know some of you have requested to be on. Some of you also don't want to be in groups, so it's fine. I respect that. And I think very important of tonight, speaking to Mayor Geordin Hill Lewis, is to ask the relevant questions. So I'm going to allow you guys in the comment sections to leave comments. I think one of the questions that we want to ask, did things change in the last 5 years, 3 years, and also, but doing so respectfully and civil. So yeah, I'm going to introduce the mayor now to you guys, and any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Put it in the comment section. Unfortunately, if there's thousands of comments, I won't be able to go through all of them. But yeah, I think I will stick to the main topics that we all spoke about, and just hear from the mayor, his opinion and his stance. So without further ado, good evening, Mayor. Welcome to Cape Flat Stories.
Evening, Stan. Good to be with you, man. Good to chat, and good evening to all the listeners and viewers.
Thank you. It's been a while. And I don't know if you remember, I went to go look at the video of myself, you and Byron. And I think there was a very funny question where Byron asked you, are you ready for what's about to happen? The name calling and all those things. How has your last 3 years been? Because I haven't spoken to you regarding your mayor duties, but how has the last 3 years been, just filling in a position that can be very stressful, I believe.
Well, we miss Byron. What a lovely guy.
Definitely.
Stan, it's been absolutely wonderful. That's the short answer to your question. It is meaningful. It's rewarding. It is. It gives me a sense of purpose, like I can do something positive and make positive change. And I love it. It's been by and large what I've expected in terms of dealing with all the the occasional hateful public comments and so on. That's kind of what I've expected, because I've worked for mayors before, I've worked for premiers before. I was a member of parliament, not nearly as high profile, obviously, as this, but I've loved it, man. That's the simple answer. I really love this job. I summarize it as follows. When I was in Parliament, I used to wake up every morning and think, what can I say today? And I was a very diligent MP, and I took my job seriously, and I wanted to make a positive contribution on public finances. I was in the finance committee, as you know, and I was working on the budget. But every day I would wake up and think, what can I say today to take this debate a bit forward? In the city, as mayor, I wake up every morning and think, what can I do today? And that difference between saying and doing is a massive and very meaningful difference. So I've loved the job.
It has been a journey. Maya, I'm going to start with you. Here's a question, because I know it's going to get quite busy here. But there's a question from Bronwyn Brooks, and I think this is also a challenge in our community. Good evening, Mayor Geordin. I want to know by you, what are you going to do with job opportunities for people with disabilities? I myself have a young lady working for Cape Flat Stories that is currently disabled. And I feel that we're not making also enough progress to help our disabled people. But more from your side, is there any plans that the city have, that they can share with our friend Bronwyn?
Hey, Bronwyn, thanks for the question. I'm actually very proud of the city of Cape Town. I didn't know this until I started seeing it for myself. But if you go to our call center, our corporate call center that the public phones into, you will see that a lot of those people working in the call center are people with disabilities, and some of them have got visual sight disabilities, and they've got enormous screens set up all around them so that they can still interact with the public with sight disabilities. And even if you chat to our emergency call center, when you call the fire department, very often the person who is dispatching fire engines to help you, those are people with disabilities working for the city. So I'm actually super proud. I only saw this when I actually went to visit all these call centers and our emergency dispatch center and met these people. That actually a great many of them are people living with disabilities, and we're always looking for other opportunities to include people with disabilities in our workforce. We invest in special computers, special readback software that can help them to do their jobs, and always looking to hire more of those people, Bronwyn.
But yeah, and also, do you think there is something that not only the city should do, but also private businesses should also maybe look at creating job opportunities? Because I think this is also something maybe that you should advocate, and those other political parties out there, that we do create opportunity for people with disabilities.
Yes, absolutely. This is something my mom-in-law, my wife's mom, is very, very passionate about this. She is in HR herself and hires a lot of particularly hearing impaired people, deaf people, in the line of work that she's in. And so, she's on my case about this all the time. Don't worry. And I really do agree that businesses should look to include people with disabilities as much as possible, because living with a disability is something that is profoundly excluding, and it's by no fault of that person. It's just the way that they were born, or something that's happened to them. So we should try as hard as we can to include them.
Okay. Um, then I want to move over, Maya, to another says okay, because I've been trying to get the job, but I think we actually answered the other question. Let's move to housing. That's quite one of our big discussions tonight.
Mm.
People feel, and we need to be honest, and we need to also, address the elephant in the room. People feel that the city has disappointed them in housing. There's people waiting on the waiting list for many years. I know personally of my own family members that's waiting for a house, and they have been removed from Constantia. So um, they're still waiting for houses almost for 30 years. What is the city doing about the waiting list that is so long? Also, many people are saying, like, I had a lady calling me last week, and she said, you know what, people told me that I have a house at the city and I don't have a house. I think there's also that mix up, and many people don't have social media. Now, many people don't have access to a phone. How do we regulate that those that is waiting for a house get notified? And also, how do we speed up the process? Because I mean, many of our people are dying, waiting for a house in a backyard. I mean, we want to give people dignified homes as well.
Okay, so there's a couple of questions there, and these are questions I get often. But I want to take people through a couple of steps. Firstly, our housing budget is funded from two sources, from the national government and from the provincial government. We get two grants, and they come together to fund our housing delivery in Cape Town. And in real terms, those grants have been going down every year for about 10 years. And that's not just a Cape Town phenomenon, that's across the country. If you look at housing budgets and you look at the inflation rate, the housing budgets have been going down across the country. This really started when we had National Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, who is the Minister of Housing, and she made an important policy announcement that the government would start to prioritize people over the age of 60 and people with disabilities and military veterans. And I just want to park the issue of military veterans. I'll come back to that in a second. Those are essentially the only three groups of people that will receive free government housing, totally free, what we would used to call the RDP homes in the future. And that's people over the age of 60, people with disabilities, and military veterans. Now, so the grants have been declining in real terms. We are limited in who can actually benefit to those three groups. And if you look at our performance, we've been spending more than 95, more than 96, more than 97% of our housing grant budgets every single year. But this is where we have to get real with the public, Stan. There's no way that the government in South Africa at any level, national, provincial, or local, will ever be able to build enough houses to finish to totally get through the housing waiting list. Currently in South Africa, we have built about 2.5 million homes over the last 30 years since democracy. The waiting list now is longer than when it began. So the population of people who need houses is growing much faster than the rate at which the government is able to build. So I got a lot of criticism when I said, that I do not see in my career or my lifetime really that shacks and informal settlements will be totally gone from South Africa. And I'm afraid that is the truth. It would be very easy to do the usual political thing and just tell you what you want to hear. Sure, it'll all be solved in 5 minutes. But that just isn't true. So what we have to do is we have to keep using the grants that we have and build as quickly as we can. But those are only free houses, and those are only for those 3 categories of people. And I want to come back to the issue of military veterans, because I have said for the longest time that there's no way that we can be prioritizing people who supposedly fought in the Umkhonto we Sizwe, the anti-apartheid battles, when it's nearly impossible to verify those people. The numbers are tiny, but we are instructed that we must keep a large portion of our houses for them. Many of them do not even live in Cape Town, so it's impossible to find them. And when you find them, they have to kind of come here. So I've got no problem saying, if you serve in the military today, if you are a young person serving in the Congo, for example, you come from the Cape Flats, that kind of military veteran, yes, I'm happy to reserve a house for that kind of military veteran. I think we should, as a society, do more for people who wear our national uniform and serve in dangerous situations in the army. So there's that point. I then want to come to 2 other kinds of housing. Social housing. We are trying to do a lot more in social housing, which is all of these terms have specific definitions in government, but people just understand them all together. So I want to just help everyone to understand. Social housing is not a free RDP house. It's a subsidized rental where you get, like the city has all over the city, the people usually refer to them as council rental flats. That is social housing, where you get a subsidized rental. We are trying to do much, much more of that by releasing the land that we have as a city. We own small parcels of land. We don't own the enormous parcels of land like Wingfield and Youngsfield and Easterplaat and so on. But the land that we do have, we are releasing for more social housing, which is subsidized rental housing. And then the third one that I'm very excited about is what is known as small-scale rental units, essentially backyard units, but where it's made of brick and mortar. And we are actually helping people to build those in Cape Town. And this is, so far as I know, I'm not aware of any other city in the country doing this, where we've actually allocated budget 20 million rand this year to help people build those brick and mortar structures in the backyard. We've got pre-approved building plans so that they don't have to go through the building plan approval process. They get help from the city to comply with all the regulations to make sure that those buildings are safe, that there's proper ventilation, proper connections, and so on. So we're really trying to generate what we call micro developers, where people, if you, let's say your family member got an RDP house 20 years ago, they've still got space at the back of their property. They can use that to generate an income. They can build 3 or 4 flats there with proper brick and mortar flats, and the city can help them to do that, and they can provide affordable accommodation for people that is much needed. So using those 4 mechanisms that I've just outlined, we are trying to increase the pace of affordable housing delivery across the city. Sorry for the long answer, Stan, but I want to answer your question comprehensively.
Yes. Maya, there's one thing that also bothers me is that many of our men on the Cape Flats are builders. Many of our fathers, my father was a builder. We had we built quite a few places, and many of our people feel that if the city creates opportunity for ourselves to build these houses, there would be less people unemployed, more people will be employed, and also transferring the skill. We have a problem also on the Cape Coast where many of our children don't go to school. How can we use this project and involve our people as well? Get the people honestly. There's many people that can build. There's plumbers, there's stylers, there's electricians, everything on the Cape Flats. How can we get our people to build these houses themselves? I'm sure the city will spend will spend less money, but also getting, getting to the social ills of the community where unemployment is, where our young people are going to drugs, where our young people become gangsters because that is their way of surviving. How can we incorporate our people to be part of these projects? Because I feel many people are saying, yeah, and I can read on the WhatsApp as well, but how are we benefiting from this whole process?
So let me explain. This gets me very excited because I love this micro developer project. Let me answer the question of how you can benefit. If you own a
Mm,
house that has got space at the back in Cape Town, you must please, and you are a builder, as you say, you can access the skills, or builders and
mm,
plumbers and so on. You must please think about becoming a micro developer. You can use your property that you have to generate an income for yourself,
mm,
and
mm,
it's a good income, and to provide affordable accommodation for other people that need it. The city is doing what we are really leading the way here to try and help you do this. We have a fund that will even
mm,
help you pay some of the costs. That's the 20 million that I spoke about that we put aside this year for the first time. I'm not aware of any other city doing that. We
mm,
have pre-approved building plans where you can speed the process through the building plan process. It's not going to take you months. We have dedicated planning support officers that will make sure they can help you. You don't have to go and get an expensive engineer or architect or whatever. Our planning support officers will help you make sure you've got the proper sewer connections, the proper water connections, and so on. So we really are. And what we can do is link you also with one of the finance institutions. Like there's finance institutions like Bitprop. You can Google
mm,
Bitprop, and the Urban Housing Finance Corporation, TUHFC. These
mm,
are amazing organizations that help micro developers in particular to build these kind of small buildings. And what we could do, Stan, I'm very happy to do this because I love this. This is a very exciting area of work for us. We can
mm,
do a whole separate session where we get Bitprop and Urban Housing Finance Corporation. We'll get our planning guys on the call, on the line, and we can do a separate session helping what I call micro developers to get started, because I think this is going to be one of the things that delivers many more affordable housing opportunities than even the state is able to do. We will
mm.
carry on spending every rand that we can spend from our grants and building those free houses, but it will never ever keep up with the demand. We must be realistic about that upfront.
Mm. Maya, I want to ask you just another question on that question quickly. Also, people are saying that the city is building houses, but there's no school facilities. Now, just down the road, you have New Horizon, and New Horizon has been there for a few years. And New Horizon's children is now going to schools in my area, in Strandfontein, as well as they're going to Grassy Park. And that actually puts a bit of strain on us, on our current infrastructure. What is the city also doing about it? So we're building houses, but are we also looking at, putting recreational facilities there? Because that's one of the things that we have a lack of. I mean, many years later, apartheid structures are still running. How are we bettering the current system or the current infrastructure on the Cape Flats? By building more houses, this means there's going to be more people. But how do we help our people to get into schools? I don't want to say that there's a lot of children that's not going to school. There isn't places for them in on the schools here in Susplain and other areas. How are we addressing that matter of getting our kids back into the school system?
So I'm supporting Premier Windy in what he calls the School Rapid Build program. Remember that schools are a function of the provincial government, not the city. But I am helping where I can, because one of the bottlenecks in the process is getting planning approval for new schools. The province is under massive pressure with the number of schools that they need to build, particularly in Cape Town. And so they started this program called School Rapid Build, where we get land to them quickly. I've made an offer to them, and I repeat this offer publicly here. If they want any land for schools that we have, and it's in a suitable place and we don't need it for housing or other things, they are welcome to have it for free for schools. We understand how much schools are important for communities. The second thing I did was I actually took one of our most senior planning officials, literally one of our most senior planners in the whole city, and he is sitting full-time in the Western Cape Education Department offices. He doesn't even sit in the office in the city anymore. He is just in the Western Cape Education Department doing planning approvals for new schools to make it go quicker. So when they came and said to us, we want to build 20 new schools in the city, but it's taking us a year to get each of them approved through the process, I said, no ways. We cannot take that long to approve a new school. These schools are urgent. Let's get someone dedicated in your office. And we have done that. We are paying for his salary, but he's only doing school approvals. So I'm trying to do what I can to speed up that process. And we are seeing results, by the way. We've seen Lwandle in Wallace Dean. This is at Blue Ridge. This is one I'm very proud of. There's 2 brand new schools nearly finished there. They'll take students next year, January. They've been built in less than 6 months from nothing. We did the sod turning with the Minister of Education, the MEC for Education, in December. I went back there. Now the schools are nearly finished. We've got Lwandle. We're doing a piece of land handover in Delft very soon. That school will be open for next year, January already. So they are building schools very quickly. And they've got a lot of pressure to make up for, as you say.
Maya, I just want to read some of the questions because someone can be very upset with me if I don't read it. One question is from Ian Adams. Please, can Maya just contact him, because I know he's been trying to get hold of you for quite a while. Maybe his name is Ian Adams. Maybe he can just maybe Marvin can just, I see Marvin is on, just take a screenshot and send it to the Maya. Just make contact with him. I think he's a bit frustrated, but you can maybe liaise with him with an email. And then I have Trevor Boom. Trevor van Boom is saying the following. Hi, Stanley. Let me just put it up here. It's going to be a bit big. Hi, Stanley. Can you ask the mayor? My tenant's son was expelled from school last month. The reason they were smoking cigarettes and the reason the school gave is that their age is 18 and in grade 10. So they're a bit old for the standard. They can start night school in June month. Are you aware of these rules of schools? There are 17 boys from Rosendal High.
17 boys expelled?
Yeah, so they've been expelled because they're in grade 10 and they are 18 years old.
Mr. Van Boom, I'm not aware of those rules. As I said, I'm very happy to follow that up with you. Follow that up for you. Sorry, with the MEC for Education. If you send through those details to my office, I can certainly connect you with the MEC's office. But that doesn't sound right to me. I think that does need further investigation.
Yeah, and then the other thing here is there's 2 questions, and I think it's the same question. The one is from Marion Parker. Mandalay has become a slum of all the flats built there, also because the infrastructure was never intended for double the amount of the people. The rents are blocked all over the time. Are you aware of that as well?
Well, I mean, I know Mandalay, and I'm sure that the infrastructure is under pressure. Infrastructure is under pressure across the city. And Ms. Parker, that's why, if you've listened to what I've been talking about publicly since I was elected, it's about upgrading infrastructure. Because more people are coming to Cape Town, whether we like it or not. They're coming here for better opportunities. They're coming here for the opportunity to look for work. I'm going to sneeze soon. They're coming here to look for work. They're coming here to get opportunities, to find better schools, to find better hospitals, you name it. So Cape Town's population is growing rapidly. You cannot say you've got to go and find a piece of land somewhere, far out towards Stellenbosch. They want to be people want to live where they want to live. So we've got to upgrade the infrastructure continuously to stay ahead of that pressure. And what we've done over the last 2 years is budget and plan programs to invest more infrastructure than Joburg and Durban combined. More than those two massive cities combined is going into Cape Town each year in our city. And it is mainly going in water and sewage pipe reticulation and infrastructure. So I don't know what the pipe upgrade program is in Mandalay. I can certainly check for you and very easily get back to you. But I can tell you that there are hundreds of kilometers of pipe upgrades going in around the city. Next year is probably going to be 200 kilometers just next year. So that's bigger pipes, bigger capacity pipes, more, more longer network, you name it. And the idea there is precisely to cope with the number of people moving into Cape Town all the time.
I think, Maya, the problem here is urbanization, people coming from the rural areas. And I mean, that happens over in other countries as well. The one question I want to ask you, how is the city coping with urbanization? Because, with everybody coming to Cape Town, the infrastructure is getting small. And like Jason says, there's an influx in traffic. Also, the other problem is this crime is escalating. That is something that is out of control. I mean, our people are dying daily. How is the technology helping you? Because I do a lot of research in other countries like India, a very big country, but there's a few things that's working for them. How is technology helping the city of Cape Town to control and to better these type of situations?
Okay, so firstly, there's a couple of questions there. Urbanization is our biggest challenge in Cape Town by far. I mean, obviously poverty is our biggest challenge. But if you ask what practical thing we have to deal with every single day, the pressure on our infrastructure, the pressure on our roads and so on, it's from urbanization. And but as I said, that is like, you can't wish it away. There's that famous story, the legendary story of the king who stands on the tide and thinks he's so powerful and orders the waves to go backwards, and the waves just keep coming. There's no one that can turn back the tide of urbanization. It's happening. It's happening in every city in the world. In Cape Town, it's happening particularly fast because there are no opportunities in the Eastern Cape. There's very few opportunities in the Free State, in the Northern Cape, in Lesotho, the country. All of those areas that surround the Western Cape, people are coming here for opportunities and for better, most importantly, the better chance of getting a job, because then they know and they hear that unemployment is much lower here than elsewhere. And that puts huge strain on the city. That is the pressure we have to deal with. But we can either say, look, this is too difficult, or we can do something about it. And the thing we have to do about it is to keep investing faster and faster in roads, in public transport, in sewage, in water, you name it. That's actually the most important function. Now, as for technology, we're using technology in a number of very interesting ways. We currently have a technology program to try and find toilet technology that doesn't require sewer pipes, where you can have on-site treatment, because that would make life much easier for us in all of the new informal settlements that pop up. We use technology to fly over informal settlements and count the shack structures. And where there are new structures on illegal land, we can prove that with the technology, because we've got photos flying over every few days or every couple of weeks. We fly over and count all the structures. Then we can remove those structures if we have a court order. We use technology in our fight against crime. I'm going big on technology in the fight against crime, because we cannot keep hiring thousands and thousands of new police officers. What we can do is use technology. Things like Eye in the Sky. We have a plane. They use the plane now to help look for those missing fishermen out at sea this last weekend. We have a plane that is constantly watching across the city. It has high definition camera that can zoom in on a crime scene, that can follow a suspect, that can really help us in the fight against crime. We're using technology like ShotSpotter. Lots of people are cynical about ShotSpotter, but I'd love to. I mean, there's so many things we can discuss here, Stan. We can have a separate session just looking at the shot spotted data and the fascinating intel and useful stuff that we are getting out of that. That's helping us to bring gun violence down. So technology is a big part of our program as well.
But yeah, I spoke to JP a couple of weeks back, and I just also want to hear your opinion about it. I believe there was 27,000 arrests made by the DA or by the City of Cape Town. However, the conviction rate is a bit low.
Very low.
And Angus McKenzie also said in a debate last week with Fadel and others, he said at least the people were, for that 48 hours, they were safe. What is the longer term goal? Because we don't want these people back into our communities. I mean, it's the same uncle that is arresting that is vandalizing the house. It's the same uncle that's abusing the whole family. It's the same auntie, that, woman as well, that is doing that's problematic in our communities. How do we deal with this on a permanent basis? Because 48 hours just means that if they are caught today, it's Tuesday, they will be out on Thursday. How can we fix this?
You've hit the nail on the head there. The criminal justice system in South Africa is so broken, Stan, that the conviction rate is shockingly low in our country. And the problem is, as I'm sure JP will have told you, but we've actually got the stats to show how many times we rearrest the same people. They go to court, they get a fine, or they get a tap on the wrist, and they get sent straight back out. And then a few weeks later, we rearrest them. This is why we've said a couple of things. We are fighting for the devolution of what we call the devolution of investigatory powers. That means that we can actually investigate those cases and prepare them for court ourselves, so that we can make sure that they are properly investigated, Stan, not that they do a shoddy job. And I'm not blaming our detectives, by the way. Our detectives have got more than 300 cases on their desk, each one of them. So they can't really do a great job with making a thorough court folder for each case when they've got 300, and every day it's just more and more and more. So that's why we say, let us investigate crimes as well, so that we can actually prepare those court documents for the court and make sure that we get proper criminal investigations and convictions. And then ultimately in national government, which is why next week's election is so important, by the way, one of the most critical things that we have to talk about, that very few people talk about in this country, everyone's focused on jobs and load shedding, and understandably so, but we have to fix the criminal justice system, the court system, the NPA, the prosecution. It is not working. It is just completely overloaded. It doesn't have enough resources. There aren't enough courts. There aren't enough prosecutors. And the consequence is that criminals just fall through the system like rain. And we all and our communities suffer the consequences. So I really feel sorry. I give huge praise to our law enforcement officers and LEAP officers. Last year, they took 474 illegal weapons off the streets of Cape Town. 474 illegal weapons. But if all of those people that were arrested, if only 2 or 5% of them were actually convicted for the illegal possession of an illegal weapon, that means 95% of them are back on the streets looking for another gun, and who knows what they're going to do with that gun. So it's just not working, and it's very disheartening for those law enforcement officers, and that's why I take special time to keep thanking them and encouraging them, even though you're arresting that same guy again. Keep doing it until we get the breakthrough we need.
I see recently 16 law enforcement or LEAP officers has been put on the ground in Wynberg. And some people are saying they can see a bit of change. Can we expect more numbers? Because Wynberg is quite a big problem with illegal drug dealing, with illegal things happening there. What can people expect? Because many people are moving out of Wynberg, because Wynberg is not the same place that it used to be. Also, that used to be a business hub where many of our people from the Cape Flats would go and work. And the same with Townsend as well. But specifically on Wynberg, because I posted something on Monday or yesterday. that the city has implemented or has put 16 officers on the ground. How's that been going, and when did it start?
Oh, I'm so pleased that you've noticed the difference already. That really warms my heart. I made a promise last year that we would include. Remember, we did the officers for the CBD because the CBD raced up in the crime stats, and I said I would include the other CBDs as well. That was a promise, and that has been fulfilled. We have now done 30 officers in Mitchell's Plain CBD at the town centre, 16 officers at Wynberg CBD, and another 30 are going to Belleville. Mitchell's Plain in Wynberg is done. Another 30 are going to Belleville any day now, I think the beginning of next month. So we're doing all the CBDs around the city. That was our promise, and it is already making a big difference. I was at the Mitchell's Plain launch. I didn't go to the Wynberg launch, but I heard about it, and I'm thrilled that it's already making a difference. Our CBDs are critical. That's where the jobs are concentrated. And if you look at the number of companies going to Mitchell's Plain Town Centre and Mitchell's Plain in general, you look at the tens of thousands of people that work in Belleville, in Wynberg, those places have to be safer and more kind of productive, beneficial spaces for our people to live and work. So we are going to keep investing in the safety of those CBDs, and I'm just thrilled. It really warms my heart to hear you say that people can already feel the difference.
There's quite
It's
a few people that actually saw.
There's, I think it's only about 2 weeks now that they've been deployed, so it's very new.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled that it's working.
Maya, then there's a question up somewhere here that I saw. It's actually past me now. I don't know if you remember, there's an issue in Swartklip where people have to move away from Swartklip. They want to use it for a burial site, right? For a
Yes.
graveyard. My question is, so the problem is that there's also the problem where we had families living on the railway, and they were removed. They got property to go and move this. The government helped them to set up somewhere and get water and stuff. But with these people living in Swartklip, they have to move out of their own. I just want to ask you about that. Can't we assist them? Because I mean, at the end of the day, it looks almost as if we are now promoting another race. Because the way I look at it from my point is that whenever a colored person, and I have to be honest with the mayor, whenever a colored person puts up suspect, it is removed forcefully and immediately. However, if our black brothers and sisters put up sex, they are given water, and and that is where the fight comes in. That is why you can look at a lot of the comments. People are very upset, and we have to address it. So I have spoken to you last time, and I do believe you've listened to me with the problem we had in Hangberg. Hangberg, it has been quiet. I haven't heard anything. So you kept your word, but I want to know about my other brothers and sisters living in Swartklip. Can't we assist them? So I'm putting pressure on you tonight, actually.
So Stan, let me say this: it's not true that they're not getting offers of alternative accommodation. We cannot even approach the court. Remember what the law says in South Africa. The law makes it extremely difficult to remove a shack in South Africa. You have to offer that person an alternative place. You have to by law. So the court will not even take our papers if we do not offer an alternative. We have to say this person, person A is going to go from there, and we must say to the court they're going to go there, and that's where they have a space reserved. If we do not do that, we cannot even approach the court for the eviction order in the first place. So I can guarantee you that they will get an offer of an alternative, just like everyone else who gets moved off of land. But Stan, we must just be careful about something. We can never condone illegal structures on public land. Please, I get so many complaints every day from Mitchell's Plain about homeless people, from Belleville about homeless people, from Wynberg about homeless people, you name it. And we have to protect public spaces and public land that are required for services. Now, we have a huge shortage of burial ground in the city, particularly Muslim burial ground. And so we have to develop new cemeteries. It's part of the responsibility of the city to provide cemetery space. And so those people do have to be moved so that we can use that cemetery space and develop it into a proper cemetery. We can't defend the illegal occupation of land, but it is a fact that in South Africa, and it will be the case in this case, I assure you, that every person that is moved is offered an alternative.
Okay. Maya, let's just have one question here before we continue. There's one more last question for you from my side. Sorry not for the big screen. When the city of Cape Town agreed in January 2023, okay, let's move with a transfer. It was met with much relief and gratitude. The MEC said on record that transitioning is quick, but then came back and said July, the process will kick off by August. We are told that handover will take place in February. This is now Alison from Atlantis. A type of launch and name change was announced at Protea Park Clinic on 1 April. To date, we have no primary healthcare service. Our people are still queuing at the hospital. They will tell you. I don't know if you're aware of the situation in
Yeah,
Atlanta.
Ali WhatsApps me often, so we chat. I think she knows the situation there, but maybe she wants me to just share it with the public. Look, the fact is, Ali, as you know, that we've done the part from our side. You and you must take some credit as a community activist, Ali. You contacted me and said that transfer needs to happen quickly. We made it happen very quickly. And I did not even know, because now it's out of the city's hands. I did not even know that the province had not yet opened it. So I've sent your complaint on to the MEC, and I'll keep following up on your behalf. But sorry, just to fill everyone in, this is about a community clinic in Atlantis that used to be a city clinic. The community wanted us to hand it over to the province so that it could deliver a greater basket of services, because city does limited primary healthcare services, and that handover did take place last year. And recently, I heard that those services are still not being delivered at the new facility, which is sad for me to hear. But I will follow that up on your behalf, Ali.
Thank you, Maya. Maya, then the last question is: it's winter, it's cold. I know the city invested quite a lot of money in homeless centers. Just tell us, for people that have family members living on the street, or people that looking for a place during the winter. It's extremely cold in Cape Town. How are we assisting our homeless brothers and sisters during this time?
Thanks, Dan. We are building what we call city safe spaces. We have spent R250 million, 253 million rand as of now, building those safe spaces. We're about to open our biggest one ever. It will be finished in the next couple of weeks before the winter really sets in. That's in Ebenezer Road. We've expanded the one in Belleville. We've expanded the one at Culemborg in the CBD. We've opened a new one in Durbanville. We are opening a new one in Tokai. We have just signed a deal on a new one in Muizenberg. So we are building these safe spaces like crazy. I'm really very, very passionate about this. These safe spaces are wonderful facilities. They provide hot meals. They provide medical care. There's a nurse on duty. There's a social worker there to help you get off the street. Our primary purpose is not to provide you accommodation forever. It's to try and get you back on your feet and reintegrated with your family. So those social workers help with family reintegration. But what we have said, Stan, and I say this again, we must please, I hope that we all agree online on this point. You cannot occupy a public space for your own structure or shelter when you've been offered an alternative and refuse that help forever, so that all of our parks are lost, all of our road reserves get lost, and they get taken over by homeless people. Our children must play in parks where there are often drug needles and so on. That cannot happen. We have to fix that. So we've said, even though it's very difficult, you've got to go through that long court process to move each person. We are going to do that. We must have our public spaces open to the whole public. But we do that with a caring attitude by building those safe spaces so that there is a caring, very, very excellent, world-class place for them to go to.
I think I just want to say this quickly. Felicity said rehabilitation in patient centers, lots should be implemented as well. as an aftercare facility, upskill people for and assist with. I think that's one of the big things, Maya, is that our people they go
Rehabilitation.
for rehabilitation, but they don't have skills. So what happens? They come back into society and they lapse again. So I think there's much more to this than just getting them off the street. But I think also this is a stakeholder thing where government and community should work together. And I think that is where we've lost each other over the years. And I'll be very honest with you, I can see a lot of the comments here, and I don't want to read some because some of the comments are very ugly. But I think we need to talk about, what can we do more? People want more from the government. And I think also we have a thing where I personally feel, and people are going to shoot me down, but I also feel that I'm a young man and I could go work for a house. And I think we should more focus on our elderly folks and our young people. If I could go work for a house and many of others like myself, then I believe we shouldn't paint the picture of everybody must get a house for like free. Some of the people are saying it in here, but this is just my opinion. I mean, we all are paying a bond, 20 years, 10 years, 15 years. I think we need to also look at who really deserves a house, Maya. Because many of the people, people are complaining, people from other provinces are actually walking into houses. The other issue with housing is that gangsters are actually buying some of these houses from the people. There is a big issue of occupying it, and these houses become drug houses. So you build a new RDP bunch of houses, and then later on, a few months later, gangsters move in there, drug dealers move in there, and the whole cycle starts again. How are you regulating that as well, Maya?
Regulating what?
Regulating from people selling the houses to gang bosses to drug dealers. Because if you go in certain areas, these gang bosses are actually taking over people's houses, and then it becomes another, slum.
So there is actually a restriction on every government house that gets handed over, that you're not allowed to sell that house for 8 years. That restriction is recorded in the title deed. But it's very difficult to enforce, to be honest with you, Stan. And it's actually easy to understand why. People need cash in their pockets. Actually, sometimes they need cash more than they even need accommodation. People are poor. And so if you give them an asset, the asset costs the government about 240,000 rand. It costs the state to deliver that house. But they can get 20,000 rand for it right now from whoever's offering it to them in the community. If they are desperate enough, they're going to take that. And that, to be honest, that makes sense. I don't agree with it, but I can understand it. So we try to limit that by putting that 8-year clause in the title deed. But it just, it's impossible to enforce, basically, because all it does is people sell it on the informal market. They don't sell it formally through the deeds office. They sell it informally to someone for cash, which makes it even more messy, because in 10 years' time, that person passes away, and now there's someone else living in the house who says, but I paid for this house. I bought this house, but the house is still formally in the name of the original beneficiary. It makes a huge confusion and mess when those people pass away. So that is a really, really tough one to regulate. I'm not even sure that it is worth putting that sale restriction in the title deed, to be honest. I just think that we should educate people about the true value of that asset. That has cost the state 220, 240, let's call it 250,000 rand. Each house has cost the state. Don't give it away for 20,000 rand. Don't do that. It is a very, very valuable asset. What you can rather do, and I've seen this happening, and this is, I see some people mentioning this in the comments. What you can rather do is use the space around that house and become a micro developer in your own right. Then you stay in the house and you rent out 3 units. Those units rent for, say, 1,500, 2,000 rand a unit. There you've got 6,000 rand monthly income, and you've got a home. That is a clever micro development, and the city is helping you to do that. I want to emphasize that again and again. We are helping you to do that. We are covering some of the costs. We are pre-approving the building plans. We've got support officers standing by to help you make sure that those buildings are safe. That is the way forward.
Maya, there's a lot of questions coming through, but I think we've come to our...
Let's fire away. I'm happy to answer as many questions as you like.
Okay, there is a question from, many people is unhappy, but let's ask the questions. Hi Stan, please ask your guest, why do people in Danone get to put up illegal structures without plans? And he said it's okay. But what happens in colored areas? They want to break it down. So I think it's the same question we had earlier on, where we get this picture of, the DA breaking down, or the city only breaking down colored people's houses instead of our black brothers' houses. And we don't want to bring race into this, but this is what people are seeing.
So Beast, I think that's what I tried to answer before. No one may build a proper brick and mortar structure without a plan. Please don't misunderstand me. What I'm saying is that we are trying to help people to comply and to do it easily and to make a living off those buildings, and that's what we call micro developers. So you must please do it with a plan, but we are there to help you. We've got new planning support officers that I've funded out of my office. Those planning support officers are designed specifically. Their job is just to help people build these backyard flats, the brick and mortar ones. We've put the fund aside to help the 20 million I spoke about earlier. We've passed the pre-approved approved building plans to help you get these sorted. So we really are trying here to help enable you to do this, Beast. And I hope that you come right. But no one is allowed to build without building plans. If we go to Danone and we see that they have a building plan, we'll try that they don't have a plan. We'll try and help them to regularize, to comply with the law. If they do not, then we have to go to court and seek a demolition order.
The last question I'm going to ask, we have 5 minutes left still. The question that many people predict. The final question. Will the DA would go into a coalition with the ANC. Is that are you guys ready for it? Because many people are predicting the DA to lose a lot of votes during this time. So a lot of things are being said, and many people are unhappy. How are we going to fix the relationship with the people of the Cape Flats? Because the people of the Cape Flats are very upset with the city of Cape Town, with the DA, and also going into a coalition. Do you think that is what is on the cards for you guys?
Well, Stan, I think you say those statements, but I'm not sure that you have evidence for those statements. I mean, we'll see what the results look like next week. But I predict that the people of the Cape Flats, the people of Cape Town, will still overwhelmingly recognize that there is only one city in this whole country that is moving forward. That doesn't mean that we have no problems. Of course, we have problems. We have huge poverty. We have huge unemployment. But we have the lowest unemployment in South Africa. We have 360,000 people that have got jobs in the last 2 years alone, Stan. We haven't had a chance to discuss that yet tonight, but 360,000 people in the last 2 years. The huge majority of those people I've actually got the numbers here. The huge majority of those people are black and colored people on the Cape Flats that are getting jobs. That's what the Stats SA data shows. So I think that this election is about the overall direction of our country, which is undeniably, absolutely without question, backwards, and the overall direction of our city and our province, which is undeniably forwards. So you take the views of some people who are, clear kind of hacks of certain other political parties like Ms. Frenchman and Mr. Pakri and so on, and you project their views onto the entire city. I think that's a mistake of you to do that. Please don't do that. We must see the overall direction of the city and the province versus the overall direction of our country. One is forwards, slowly making progress through our problems. One is backwards, undeniably. And I think that's what people will reflect next week.
And I think, Mayor, the ballot box is going to speak for itself. I mean, I've also noticed a lot of our people are not on social media. A lot of people don't know what's happening. So I think next week, the ballot box will actually speak. But good luck to you, Mayor. Thank you for joining me. It's 9 o'clock almost. Anything else you want to just leave the people with? Because maybe there's somebody that wants to hear something from you, a word of encouragement, and why they should vote DA.
Well, thank you very much, Stan, for the opportunity to speak to you and to have this interview. It's been good to spend this time together with you and your listeners. I will say again that next week we face a really simple choice. This election is really a simple choice. South Africa has moved undeniably backwards over the last 10 years. Everyone is poorer off. Many more people are unemployed. Poverty has gone up. In the Western Cape, it is the only place in the whole of South Africa that can point to a different story. That despite those challenges, despite all of the troubles that we have, we are moving slowly but surely forwards in the right direction. More people have work. More jobs created in this city than all 7 other metros combined, Stan. Higher economic growth. The only place in the country, according to the Institute of Security Studies, the only place in South Africa where violent crime is ticking downwards. Still far, far to go, but heading in the right direction. That is why we say the Western Cape works. And I'm very confident that a very large portion of Cape Townians and Western Capers understand that, and understand that this is a government that is dedicated to our people, that is doing its absolute best to care for our people and to move this province and city in the right direction. God bless you all.
Mayor, thank you so much, and we'll see you after the elections, and all the best to all the parties out there. Have an awesome evening, and we chat soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The reason why I have those one-on-ones, and I will have a few of the other parties as well later in the week, and some other activists to join me. Some people feel that I need to give everybody a fair chance. So now I won't be able to hoe kan ek nou sê, om hulle almal tevrede te stel nie. Almal gaan nie happy wees met my nie. Paar van my vriende is klaar kwaad vir my. But I think we need to be honest. We need to have this conversations and the people hear and see for themselves, you know. But also thank you to you guys for sharing and for coming on board. I have enough time this week to maybe interview a few of your leaders as well. I would like to also have female leaders to maybe call me up and let's have a conversation. Maybe you see things different. Maybe you want us to vote for your party. I know tomorrow night I've got some gentleman that wants to rectify stuff that was said from another party. And then after that, I have some other people on the list as well. So if you want your parties, or if you're an activist or person that wants to come on board, this is your week to come. Leave the keyboard now. Come and join me. I would like to see Wafik also on here. Come and join me. And I would like to hear more from you guys. So have a blessed evening. And next week, the people will decide who goes into parliament, who goes into province again. Cheers, guys. Have an awesome evening. Bye.